I've been working on this sweater for literally years, and I'm so excited it's done. It doesn't normally take that long to make a sweater. I make them a lot faster than that, but this one I wanted to be absolutely perfect, and because I did want it to be perfect, it took me forever, and I undid it a few times and started over, and yeah, so it was a long haul. It's a very long, dramatic finishing up of this sweater. But what I'm excited about, this wool is my sheep wool from my first sheep that I brought home. I brought home a pair of sheep, but this was the one that I really wanted to bring home. And I brought this one home, and this is his wool. He has fantastic wool. I raised him up since he was a lamb. I sheared him, I spun his wool, and then I made this sweater, and it's just like, I don't know, it's just really exciting. I made something from the very beginning. You know, I didn't breed him on my property like I have now. I have a lot more sheep than I did then. But this was a few years ago that I started this when I first got sheep, and I'm really excited. It's really sentimental. And this doesn't look very thick, okay? Like you see that? That's not like a super thick sweater, and it's soft and moldable and stuff, you know? This wool is actually 6-ply yarn. I spun this lace thick, and I 6-plied it. And I went even a farther nerd level, is that this is Shetland sheep wool, and I spun it as Shetland lace thickness because of a heritage. The Shetland Isles, they have old heritage things where they have spun the lace really thin and made like wedding shawls. I think it's called like the ring shawl, but anyway, they've made things that's thick in their culture to have like really nice thin yarn, but it's really strong and sturdy. I don't share that heritage, but that's my husband's heritage. His ancestors are Scottish and English, and I thought it'd be really cool to use my first Shetland sheep that I ever bought to make something that's a very heritage type article of clothing for my husband. So I made this sweater for him. It's super warm. It's super thick. Or well, I mean, it's not super thick, but it's super warm for how thin that is. I mean, that's not very thick, but this is honestly 6-ply. I spun it myself, and it looks fantastic, and it is so warm. I also knit this on size 2 knitting needles, so if you've never knit anything, size 2 is like what you make socks out of. Sweaters are usually made out of like a 7 or a 9, and I made it out of sock size knitting needles, and it took me forever. But it's really nice. It's a really nice sweater. And sweaters, when you make them, always look way bigger than sweaters when you buy them like in the store and stuff, because they're not as they don't have that same elastic properties as our clothing does now. So you have to make things bigger and bulkier. So it always looks bigger when you knit things than what it would be if you just bought it at the store. But I mean, I don't know. It just turned out so good. I'm really excited. I've been knitting since I was a little tiny kid. I started knitting before I started school, and I'm just really excited how well it turned out. It looks good on him. These are all the natural colors of that wool, and it's finished. It's been a long haul, and I'm really proud of it, and I think it turned out good, and it's been quite the journey. But it's gonna be so warm. Like, oh man, there's nothing like a wool sweater in the wintertime. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. Unless you've worn truly a wool sweater, you don't understand. This is also unwashed. So all of this wool is unwashed. And that I did because I come from Nordic, and my ancestors came here from Scandinavia not very long ago. My grandma's generation. And so she was born here, but they came then. Anyway, so I did, for my heritage, I like to do some knitting in my ways too, but some of the Nordic stuff is that they have histories with not washing the wool first, just spinning it up dirty so when you shear off the sheep, you can wash the wool and make it clean, but instead what I've been doing is I've been spinning it while it's still dirty, and then after it's finished, I'll wash it, and it's, as a Nordic, just kind of staying in touch with my own roots. But it's supposed to, in theory, make it warmer because all of this gets washed for the first time together. And then even though there's no gaps, like this is a really tight knit. Like, look, There's like no gaps. You can't see my fingers on the other side. You know, it's thick. It's like tightly woven, not thick, I guess. But so even though it's tightly woven, washing it, all these little fibers will kind of fill in those little tiny gaps. And so as far as I've understood, the reason why the Nordic people didn't wash it first, they washed it after, was to kind of fill in those gaps and make it that much, just that little bit much warmer than if they washed it first. But the Shetland wool has nice elasticity to it. Like, look at that. That's got some nice elasticity and it bounces right back to its size. It's such good wool. I really have fallen in love with Shetland wool. So I'm making everything out of out of Shetland wool now. But anyway, I figured this sweater, since it was several years in the making, it was kind of done in a way to honor my husband's heritage, and then also done in my own ways because he married a Nordic he married a Nordic girl, so he gets a sweater made through my heritage as well because, yeah, why not? So anyway, figured this needed its own video to see this beautiful sweater that I love, and it will last forever. This is now an heirloom item. This wool will pass down. Like, if you take good care of things like this, it can last longer than you. So anyway, that's a beautiful sweater. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a long haul. You guys didn't have to see that whole process and the tears of taking it apart over and over again, but you get to see the beautiful finished stitch work, and those colors are just so pretty. Anyway, knit with Shetland wool. It is amazing stuff.